Hey there, how y'all doing? It's been a while since I brought you something truly chilling. And oh boy, tonight's story, it's gonna crawl under your skin and whisper your name when the lights go out. You see, I've told you stories about haunted houses, cursed dolls, and strange disappearances. But this one's different. What if the ghost haunting your dreams was someone who used to love you? What if death wasn't the end, but just a pause until they find you again? Tonight's story is called The Whitmore Curse. It's about a filmmaker chasing fame who stumbles into a forgotten town in Maine and discovers that some stories aren't written on paper, they're etched into souls. So grab your coffee or your holy water, whichever you trust more, because once we start this one, there's no going back.
Let me tell you something you won't forget. I've filmed in abandoned hospitals, derelict theaters, and godforsaken motels across the Midwest, but nothing comes close to Raven Hollow. I didn't go there looking for ghosts. I went there chasing a dream, and I came back with something else, something that still follows me when I close my eyes. I grew up in Chicago, where the skyline glows like a promise you can't quite reach. After years of short films, rejections, and "we'll call you" meetings, I finally got to sit down with David DeWitt, one of those old Hollywood powerhouses who smells like money and cigarettes. He laughed through most of my pitch, said my ideas were interesting, but ideas don't sell. "Show me something real, kid. You got 10 days to impress me." He wanted visuals, proof, a short film that screamed talent. So I called my crew, Liam, Jenny, and Marcus, and we packed everything we owned into an old van that barely held second gear. 10 days to make something extraordinary or die trying. We scoured online forums for eerie, forgotten places, and that's when we stumbled on a post about a haunted mansion in a Maine coastal town called Raven Hollow. It was perfect. Locals said the mansion was cursed, that no one went near it after dark. The perfect set for a horror short. Or so we thought.
The drive took us 17 hours straight. The last hour, the GPS went dead. The fog got so thick it looked alive, crawling over the windshield. Raven Hollow wasn't on most maps. It sat buried between pine forests and rocky shores, the kind of town that looked frozen in another century. Population? 732. We pulled up at a gas station that looked abandoned until the door creaked open and a man stepped out. Late 50s, weathered face, eyes like he'd seen something he shouldn't have. He introduced himself as Samuel Boone, said his family had lived there forever. When I told him why we'd come, his smile faded. Samuel says, "You don't want to be filming up there, not at the Whitmore place." I said, "Why? Local superstition?" Samuel quietly, not superstition, memory. He said it like the house itself could remember. Still, he offered us a place to stay, an old guest house on his property right outside town. He said we could stay as long as we wanted. If you live that long. I thought he was joking. The Whitmore Estate sat alone on Blake's Hill, overlooking the fog-wrapped coast. 3 stories high, all blackened wood and broken windows, its roof spiked with iron spires that pierced the sky. It was breathtaking in a way that made your chest tighten. Locals had boarded up the gates with rusted chains, but curiosity is a filmmaker's drug. We broke in. Inside, the air was cold, still, and thick with dust. Portraits lined the walls, stern men, elegant women, all staring, all watching. And then one painting caught my eye. A young woman in a flowing white gown, skin pale as marble, eyes like summer storms. The brass plaque beneath it read, Lady Elara Whitmore, 1853 to 1874. Even through the grime, you could see the artistry and the sadness. I whispered to Jenny, there's beauty, and then there's obsession.
That night, Samuel warned us again, said the Whitmore family died in ways no one should die. He refused to explain, just said, if you hear a child's voice near that hill, don't answer. Of course, that only made me more curious. The next night, I went back alone. The air was colder. Even the moonlight seemed thinner. My flashlight flickered as I entered that same hall, and this time I saw it. A door at the far end I hadn't noticed before, half rotted, covered in dust. When I pushed it open, I found a small study. Bookshelves collapsed, papers torn. A trunk sat under the window. Inside was an old leather-bound journal, initials embossed in gold, S.B. Samuel Boone. My heart froze. It wasn't his journal. It was written by his ancestor, the Whitmore family servant from 1830. The first line read, "She looked upon him with kindness, and I feared for her soul." That night, I didn't sleep. The journal told a story, one that never made the papers, one buried under time and guilt. Lady Elara Whitmore, her younger sister Clara, their parents killed in a carriage accident under mysterious circumstances. After that, Elara inherited the estate. She was adored by everyone, especially by her servant, Samuel Boone, who had served the family since childhood. But then, a stranger arrived, a drifter named Jonathan Vale, said he was looking for work. Elara took pity on him, hired him, fed him, trusted him. That trust was her undoing. The journal grew darker. Samuel wrote about a sickness spreading through the house, not disease, but dread. He left on family business one night. When he returned, everything was gone. Rooms overturned, bloodstains on the floorboards. Elara, missing. Clara, dead. Jonathan Vale vanished, and Samuel, broken by guilt, buried what was left of Clara behind the east wing and sealed Elara's portrait beneath a cloth, swearing never to speak her name again. He ended the journal with a single line, "May the Lord forgive me for leaving her." That's when the dream started. I'd see the house, the door, her face, pale, pleading, sometimes whispering my name. And then I saw her sister, a little girl, maybe 14, standing in the fog by the gate. When I asked who she was, she smiled and said, "I'm looking for my sister." I didn't know it then, but she wasn't real. She hadn't been real for 150 years.
You ever have that feeling when you know you shouldn't go back, but something inside you Something that doesn't even feel like you keeps whispering, "Go." That was me the next night. Fog curling over the road, flashlight in one hand, Samuel Boone's journal in the other. The town was asleep. The only sound was the ocean breathing in the dark. The Whitmore Estate waited, patient as a predator. I walked through the front doors, down that same hallway, back to the study. This time, the portrait of Lady Elara wasn't covered in dust anymore. It looked freshly cleaned. Her eyes followed me. I took out my phone and started filming. Instinct, habit. But when I looked through the screen, there was someone standing behind me. A blur of white. I turned around, nothing. Then a whisper. "You came back." Every muscle in my body locked. I spun toward the sound and there she was. A girl in a white dress, barefoot, face pale as porcelain, eyes wide with curiosity. Me. "Hey, are you lost?" Girl. "I live here." Me. You live here?" Girl. "My name's Clara." I swear I felt my heart stop. The child in the fog. She looked so real. Her breath misted in the cold air. She asked if I could help her find her sister. Before I could answer, a sound came from the hall, a slow creak, like someone pacing upstairs. Clara's expression changed from calm to terrified. "He's awake," she whispered. And then she vanished. Just gone, like the fog swallowed her whole. I ran out into the night, gasping, flashlight shaking in my hand. The ocean wind howled through the trees, and far up on the hill, I could swear I saw a window light up, just for a second, in that dead house. When I stumbled back to Samuel Boone's guest house, he was waiting outside, lantern in hand. He didn't even ask what I'd seen. He already knew. "You opened it." Me. "Opened what?" Samuel. "The part of her that remembers." I told him about the girl, the whispers, the portrait. His eyes glistened, not with surprise, but grief. Then he said something that chilled me more than the ghost ever could. "My great-great-grandfather wrote that journal. He buried Clara himself. But Lady Elara, she never truly died."
The next day, I couldn't focus. The others wanted to film. I wanted answers. I locked myself in the guest house and read the journal again. This time, I noticed something. A folded letter tucked between the pages. It wasn't written by Samuel Boone. It was signed by Elara Whitmore. The ink had faded, but I could still read the words. "If love can bridge death, then mine will find him." And beneath that, a sketch. A man's face. Familiar. My face. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. It didn't make sense. How could a woman dead for over a century have drawn me? That night, I dreamed of the house again, but this time from inside. I was in a room I'd never seen before, lit by candlelight, iron chains bolted to the wall. And from the shadows, I heard a man laughing, then screaming. I woke up drenched in sweat, heart racing. There was only one way to know if it was just a dream. I went back.
The Whitmore Estate loomed like it had been waiting for me. I found the door from my dream, the one behind the portrait. There was a false wall, just like in the vision. When I pushed, it cracked open, revealing a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. The air was thick with rot and cold earth. I followed the steps down, and then I saw it. Iron chains still bolted to the stone, a rusted lantern, scratch marks on the walls deep and desperate. She had been there. She died there. And in that instant, I understood the whispers. The house wasn't haunted by anger. It was haunted by memory. Elara wasn't trapped because she wanted revenge. She was trapped because she couldn't let go of love, of betrayal, of me.
When I came out of that room, the fog had thickened. The air felt electric, humming with something alive. And there, at the edge of the forest, stood a man I'd never seen before. Tall, dressed in black, face calm, almost kind. He looked at me like he knew me. "You shouldn't have gone down there. Who were you?" "Someone who remembers too much." He told me that the dreams, the connection, the pull to this place, none of it was random, that I was chosen. I laughed it off, told him ghosts don't choose anyone. He smiled. "You think this is your first time here?" And before I could answer, he was gone. Just gone. The fog swallowed him whole, but I could still hear his voice in the wind. Help her find the way home. I returned to the guest house, shaking. Samuel Boone was sitting by the fire, reading something, my notebook. "You've seen her. I think she's trying to tell me something." "No, she's remembering you." He handed me an old locket. Inside was a faded photo. Lady Elara Whitmore, standing beside a man who looked exactly like me. That's from 1873. She painted him before she died. She called him the man who would save me. My hands trembled. My mind couldn't process it. Was I losing my mind, or had I truly lived another life? The next morning, I made a decision. If this story had an ending, I was going to find it and film it. That's when I realized this wasn't just a haunting. It was a warning, and the story wasn't over yet. She laughed it off, but something about that portrait wouldn't leave me.
I didn't leave Raven Hollow after that. Something about that house, about her, wouldn't let me go. Every night, I'd hear whispers through the trees outside the guest house. Sometimes they called my name. Sometimes they just wept. Samuel said the Whitmore sisters were buried in unrest, one murdered, one left to rot in chains. The townspeople sealed the estate, thinking silence could bury sin. But silence never buries anything. It only preserves it. That night, I dreamt again. The same iron room, the same screams. But this time, I wasn't watching. I was there. I could smell the blood and dust. I could feel the cold iron biting into her wrists. She looked at me through tear-streaked eyes and whispered, "You left me." Her voice cracked like thunder. The chains rattled, the floor split beneath her, and darkness swallowed me whole. I woke gasping, choking on air that wasn't mine. When I looked at my hands, there was dried blood on them. I don't know how it got there.
2 days later, my phone buzzed for the first time in weeks. A message from Jonathan Vale, the producer I'd sent my early footage to. "Your concept's intriguing. Come back to LA. Let's talk." Funny how fate doesn't ask permission. I left Raven Hollow that night, journal, locket, and footage packed tight in my bag. But even on the plane, I felt her with me. Every blink was a flash of that chained room. Every hum of the engines sounded like her whispers. When I met Vale in his downtown office, it was déjà vu, wrapped in dread. He was charming, magnetic, exactly the kind of man who smiles with his mouth, but not his eyes. "Vale, you've got vision, Ethan. What's this story really about?" "Me. It's about a woman who died waiting for someone who never came back." Vale, grinning. "Tragic, beautiful, real art's born in suffering." The way he said suffering, like it was dessert, made my stomach twist. And that's when I saw it. On the wall behind him, a painting. Faded, old. Lady Elara Whitmore. I froze. My skin turned to ice. Me, "Where did you get that?" Vale, "Oh, that old thing. Family heirloom. Came with the estate in Maine. Funny story. We used to own land up there. Raven Hollow, I think." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He didn't just remind me of the man from the journal. He was him. The same eyes, the same cruel curve of the smile. Reincarnated, still walking the earth like nothing ever happened. Me, what happened to them, the Whitmore sisters? Vale, my ancestors' tragedy, they say, but tragedy makes good stories. He leaned closer. You remind me of him, you know, the man she loved, always chasing ghosts. And something in me snapped. Me, you're the ghost. You're the one she never escaped. His smile faltered. Vale, careful, Ethan. Some stories are better left unfinished. Then he stood, slow and deliberate, like a predator closing in. You shouldn't have gone to that house. I felt it then, the same cold wind from Raven Hollow creeping under the door, swirling between us. The air changed, the lights flickered, and for a moment I saw her behind him. Lady Elara, her eyes burning with sorrow and rage. The lights exploded. Glass rained across the floor. Vale lunged at me, grabbed the vase off his desk, swung. I ducked. It shattered against the wall. He shouted something, but his voice warped, deeper, monstrous. I stumbled back and felt something in my pocket burn. The finger bone I'd taken from the estate. I didn't even remember picking it up, but it was there. It glowed faintly, and then the room filled with a shriek that wasn't human. The air bent, colors draining from the world. I felt her enter me, cold fire flooding my veins. My body moved before my mind could catch up.
I saw through her eyes, saw Vale cower, saw the monster beneath his skin. He shouted her name, not in guilt, but rage. And then the hammer appeared in my hand. 1 strike, 2, 3. The room went still. When I came back to myself, the floor was red, and Vale was gone. No, not gone. Freed. I collapsed, gasping, the air thick with smoke and static, and in that haze, she appeared. Lady Elara Whitmore, whole again. No chains, no pain, just peace. She touched my face, smiling faintly. You found me. Her voice was soft, the way sunlight feels on cold skin. Me, you're free now, Elara. So are you. And then she looked past me, toward the ceiling, where light streamed in through a hole in the clouds. Her form shimmered, dissolving into the glow. As she rose, I heard one last whisper. Tell our story right this time. Then she was gone.
When the police came, Vale's death was ruled an accident. His company folded within weeks. I never told them what really happened. Who would believe it? But the footage, that survived. And when I edited it together, when I watched it on the screen, there were frames that shouldn't exist. A woman's reflection in broken glass, a child's laughter in empty hallways, and a shadow of 2 hands finally touching. A year later, the film, The Whitmore Curse, premiered at an indie festival. It won everything. Critics called it hauntingly authentic. They said the emotion felt real. They had no idea. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear the foghorns from Raven Hollow. Sometimes I see a woman in white standing by the shore, looking toward the sea. She never turns around, and I never call out, because some stories are better left unfinished. Let me tell you something you won't forget. You can bury the dead, but not the truth.
And that, my friends, was the story of the Whitmore Curse. Sometimes love doesn't fade, it haunts. Sometimes closure doesn't come from forgiveness, but from fire. So, what do you think? Was it fate, or something far darker pulling the strings? Either way, if you're still here, congrats, you survived another one. I hope you liked the story. If you did, drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe for more tales that make your heart skip a beat. I'll see y'all next time. Until then, sleep well, if you can.